Okay, sorry we're a few minutes late, everybody. It's 4 o'clock Eastern time. We've had, 9 of these already today. So appreciate you guys staying with us for day 2 of the virtual Roadshow 2024. We have RTI here now for the next 45, 50 minutes or so. I have Randy Logan and Vincent Bova, who are with RTI, is going to go through all of the new and exciting products. The name of this training event was a great time to be with RTI. It's because so many new products for really the commercial space and more for residential. So we'll get into that, all the new products for you guys. This is going to be recorded, like I told you, and all the other trainings, 50 points live, 20 points when it's recorded. You could get points for that. But we're going to have a poll here that we're going to start. I appreciate everybody answering those questions, only 2 or 3 questions. And then, of course, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the Q&A box, and we'll get those answered for you. So, Randy, you want to start us off? We'll go to Vincent.
Sure. Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be with us. First, I want to thank 21st Century for this amazing opportunity. As Mark said, my name is Randy Logan, and I'm joined on the call with Vincent Bova, our most senior and knowledgeable, and just an amazing team member at RTI. The slide on the screen includes a detailed list of our sales pros and support team available to 21st Century dealers that can be found on our website, and also the resources available. In this session today, Vincent will take you under the hood of our Integration Designer programming platform and give you a great look at why the platform will help you deploy successful projects. At the end of Vincent's training, I will share what's new with RTI, as Mark mentioned. I'm sure you will agree it's a great time to be with RTI. Take it away, Vincent.
Thanks, Randy. Vincent, you're on mute. Just unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Randy, thank you for that introduction. I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Hopefully you should see my software on the screen.
Not yet. We see us right now. So you may need to switch your screen.
Oh boy. Looks like my specialty is in Ring Central. Let's see here. Window.
Yeah, just select the right window. You should be good to go.
Yeah, it doesn't. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, you should start seeing my screen.
Yeah, it's coming up. Looks like it's a gray box, though. Is this supposed to be your presentation? Integration. You're an integration designer, right?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Okay, fantastic.
I want to make sure it's not a PowerPoint.
No, I'm not doing a PowerPoint.
Okay. All right.
My goal today is to give everybody a taste of the software as if you would be programming it. Obviously, it's a fast track we're going to do. RTI is a completely custom software, which means you can make it look, make it work, make it flow any way you like, whether you have a 5-year-old, 55-year-old, or 95-year-old. Whether you're doing a residential, commercial, or any type of commercial application. So here's how this software works. It's real simple. I'm going to start by creating a new system. And I'm going to call this Client Project. Okay. Once I give it a project name, I'm going to wait a couple of seconds for all of our drivers and essential information to load up. And now our Add Workspace item is going to pop up on the screen. I want you to think of this like a grocery list of building blocks we're going to add to our project. Our first order of business is to add the main processor or brain to our project. So I'll pick our Mama Bear processor right in the middle, our XP6S. We'll call it XP6 Smith Residence and select Add Processor. Now we're going to add the rooms to our home where control is happening. I'm just going to call it a theater room and select Add Room. Now I'm going to head over to the Controller tab. Controllers are RTI's handheld controllers, keypads, iOS or Android phones or tablets, and I'm going to start adding them where they belong. Shared or multi-room controllers going global, and any controllers assigned to the theater room only go in the theater room. So let's put one of our handhelds in the theater room. I'm going to look for a T4X controller, and I'm going to add that to the theater room. Now, Integration Designer is going to give us some cool options. It'll give us a nice head start in our journey. First, what template do you want? You could select a template from the list of templates here. We'll stick with Coral since it's the latest and greatest. Options, you get to use different menu options. List menus will get you out of the project lickety-split, but we'll go with button menus to show you the reach and the custom. And we'll call this Theater Room. And since we include a weather driver and a homepage in our project, by checking these off, it'll program those pages for you accordingly. In this case, with a button menu using Coral, and have a weather interface for the weather page and a home page as well. So let's click Add Device.
Vincent, hold
yes.
on. We're seeing a gray screen here, but we're not seeing anything on the gray screen. I don't.
Okay.
Does it seem like that's the case for everybody?
No, it shouldn't be the case.
I'm going crazy here.
There must be something going on with the sharing. I'm going to try to share again this time. Although, if it's not going to show windows that pop up, I'm not sure what to do here.
Yeah, try it again, because all I saw was a gray box and your mouse going around it.
I'm just going to do the entire screen. So let me see if you see the software.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, you were there.
Here we go. Let's see. It's like a gray box. Okay, now we see that workspace item, right?
Do you see the rest of the software?
Yes, on the left. Yeah.
Okay. Randy, you see the software, right?
I do.
Okay. So, like I was saying, we're going to add a controller to the theater room. Sorry?
No, I appreciate it. Sorry about that.
Okay. No worries. And we're going to add a T4X to the theater room. So we'll add that to the room. We'll specify the Coral template. We'll go with button menus as they give you a little more custom capability. List menus are the fast way to get in and out of the project. We'll call it T4X Theater Room. And by checking off these pages, it will include a weather page for our included weather driver and a home page programmed with the Coral template button menus. And we'll add that. In our global area, we're going to put one of our keypads, our newest IST10 keypad. That will give us control of the entire project. And although we only have one room now, we may have other rooms in the project. Putting something in global will give us the ability to control the whole home instead of just one room. So I'm going to click Next. We'll use list menus now. And because this is a larger controller, we'll specify a dashboard that we could use with the corresponding menu. Now Playing will give us a Now Playing preview. And now we'll check off the home page and the weather page as well. Fantastic. Let's head over to our drivers tab. RTI is a built-in cloud store. It has a built-in driver directory, which will include all of our certified drivers. Now, there's also third-party drivers, and to get those, you could toggle the library from system to user to access those. But I'm going to use built-in drivers today, and I'm going to first specify a television. Let's go with a Sony Google TV. I'm going to search for that, find it, put it in the theater room. Select Next. I'm going to uncheck Set as Room Audio Source, which will punch through the volume on all of our sources for the theater room, for the TV. In this case, I'm going to use a receiver for that role. So I'm going to uncheck this. And I'm going to call this Theater TV. And by checking these pages, it will create a page for my TV on both controllers. I'm going to uncheck those for now. I'm going to use a media streamer instead of smart TV features and click Add Device. Now I'm going to put my Denon AVR in there. So I'm going to search for Denon, open up the plus sign, and I'm going to add zone 1 of our receiver to the theater room. Select next. I am going to set this as the room audio source, which will make sure all my sources in the theater room use the Denon receiver for volume. And I'm going to name this my theater AVR. And again, we don't need pages for this. And I'll click Add Device. Next, I'm going to go add a Roku source. So I'm going to look for my Roku source under drivers. You can see that this one driver handles up to 16 Rokus. Let's add the Roku to the theater room. Click Next. We'll call this Roku, and we'll check off those pages so that it will create a programmed interface for us that we can either decide to keep, change, or we can make a custom one with our own touch. Let's click Add Device. Now I'm going to add a music page. So I'm going to look for RTI music. So I'm going to look for the music, open up the players, and add the players to the corresponding rooms. If they're shared, they'll go in global. But we're going to assign player 1 to the theater room. Let's select Next, and let's call this RTI Music. It's just a streamer. So let's use the source name, and let's create those interfaces. Next, I'm going to go add a video game. Since I don't really have a video game source, since the client has a bunch of them, I'm going to just add a blank source page that I could customize later on. So I'm going to head over to page sets, which are just sources that have a pre-programmed page for us that's already built. So let's look for video game in use and add that to the theater room. Click Next. We'll create pages for that, and we'll call this video game, or game port would be a better one, and add that device. Next, I'm going to add an Ecobee thermostat. So I'm going to look for Ecobee in our list of drivers, and I'm going to find, the Ecobee in the list. I'm going to open up the thermostats, add thermostat 1 to the shared area. Click Next. Let's give this a good name. We'll call it HVAC, or climate control might be a little better. Climate might be fine. And we'll use that source name as well and create pages. Last, I'm going to go add an IC real-time camera. Now, there's two ways to do this. You could either add the driver under the driver tab, so we would look for IC real-time, but my client just wants to view the camera feeds on his IST10. He doesn't really need control over the unit. He just wants to see who's at the front door. So in that case, I'm going to add a source, and I'm going to add a blank source, add it to the theater room, but I'm going to call this blank source camera. And that way I could view the camera on a page that's almost programmed for us. We'll add the camera feed later. Add device. To close out, I'm going to add a please wait page, and I'll put that in global so it gets on all my controllers. And I'm just going to call this please wait. And now click add device. That's it. We click close now, and if we look at our workspace, which is our system tree, we get to see everything that's been programmed here. We can see our main processor, our multi-room controller, the IST10. And although there's only one room in this project, we might add others later. That way the IST10 can control those rooms as well. These are the drivers, and although it's always a good idea to go into your drivers and configure them properly, that will configure our driver automatically for us. We could go to Roku, go to the driver properties, maybe give it a name that makes sense, maybe fill in some presets. Again, this is something you need to do to tell the system how we're controlling the device. We'll go into weather, we'll put in our zip code, my zip code 32164, and then we'll go into our TV and make sure our IP address is up to date. So that's all we need to do there. Next, we're going to program our activities. And in our software, not only are our activities centralized, meaning it doesn't matter how many remotes you have in a room. If you have 10 remotes, 50 remotes, or 20 remotes, you only have to program the macros or routines in one single location. So let's select the theater room, And these will be and then activities. These are going to be a list of our activities based on what we've added. Our first job, to enable any activities that we need in this room that are not checked, and disable anything we don't want as an activity that is checked. For example, our weather page, that's an activity. We'll give the client a way to get to the weather page. Our theater TV, that could be an activity, but we didn't create any pages and we're not giving the client smart TV. So we're going to uncheck that. Roku is indeed an activity. RTI music is indeed an activity. So is climate. Let's give the client some home pages, both on the global controller and the local controller, so we could get back to the home page. And then we'll check off the game port and the camera. Those are all going to be activities. Next, we're going to classify these activities. Now, the software will do a great job at classifying these. There's 3 source types. There's audio, video, and other. Audio and video are pretty obvious, but other source types are the ones you just want to jump to, maybe adjust some scenes, maybe go to the climate page or go to the home page or a lighting page. That would be considered an other type of source, which don't rely on speakers or a display or anything. So we're going to go and make sure these are classified correctly. Roku, video, correct. RTI music, audio. Climate, other. Home, other. And game port, let's make that a video source. Now you might ask, why are we doing this? And since our camera is only going to be a page we jump to see our camera feeds, that will be another. Now you might ask, why are we doing this? We're giving this software intelligence. And when we're done, the software is going to know what room is selected, what source devices are in use, if the room is on or off, if audio in the room is on or off, if video in the room is on or off, and lots of other data points. Next, we're going to go and sort this order of the activities we want to see, at least in our list menu. So I don't want the weather to be on top, so I'm going to move that down to the bottom. I'm going to move my home pages to the top of the list so the client can jump easily. Roku, RTI music, I'm going to put my game port up under the Roku, and I'm going to put my camera. So I'm going to sort my video stuff in order, then music, and then other in the order in which the client uses it. I don't have to worry about the unchecked activities. Last, since the list menus are designed to use this, we're going to give these a real name. So game port, well, I didn't really mean to start with that. Roku could be watch Roku. Game port could be play video game. And although we name these obvious names in our programming software, these are for the client. Maybe the client can see watch front door. And then RTI music can be listen to music. Climate and weather are fine, but it's up to you how you want to do those. Let's start with the first activity in the list. That's Roku. The other sources will be programmed for us with page jumps to get to that source. So we never have to program others. But the video and audio, we have a job to do. Now, these are called segmented macros, and they start with selection events and deselection events. I'll explain what these are. The selection events for this Watch Roku are going to fire when someone presses the Watch Roku button. So let's stick to this. Activities start. Well, how do you know what you need to put here? We give you yellow cheat notes that tell you exactly what you need. Use this to send the controller to a please wait page. If you don't have a please wait page, then skip it. But if you do, use it. And it says this macro is common to all activities in the room, meaning if we program it once, we don't have to do it for the rest of our audio and video activities. So I do have a please wait page. So I'm going to go to my macro steps and I'm going to bring in a page link. That is a macro tool that we could use to jump to any page in our interface. Let's go to the please wait page. Next, I'm going to head over to room on. Now, this macro is run when an audio or video source is selected and the room is currently off. Use this to turn on any equipment that audio and video share, like an AV receiver. Yes, my receiver does have to turn on whether I select audio or video in this room. So I'm going to use this to turn on my receiver. So I'm going to go to my command, bring it in, select my receiver via AVR, select the function from the long list of driver functions, main zone, on or off, and select the argument, on. I want to turn on the main zone. Next, video on. You could probably guess what this does. This is run when a video source is selected and the room is not currently on a video source. So you're already kind of seeing that these are only going to run when they need to run, and they can track whether the room is on and video is on. So use this to turn on any video specific equipment like a display or projector. I happen to have one of those. I added a Google TV to this room. So let's go to our theater TV, select our power on function, and that's it. If you need a little delay after the command, we could throw one in if you want. It's only going to run when the TV is off. Power on source. In this case, if Roku had a power command, we could program it. And although Roku does have a power command, this is optional. So you would go bring in a command in and go into the Roku, select the keys, which is the keystrokes on the remote, and select the right command, power on. And you can pick the Roku. We only have one, Roku 1. Activity selected. This macro is run to configure the equipment to use this source. We're going to use this to do the switching in the room for the Roku page. So what has to switch? In this case, the receiver and possibly the TV. So I'll bring in a command. I'm going to select the AVR first. I'm going to go to my main zone input source, and I'll select, since it's Denon, SAT cable. My TV also has to switch to an input. So I'll go to my theater TV, and I'll go to my source commands, and HDMI 2 sounds good. Activity ready will jump to the page, and that's already programmed for us. Now, the great part about these macros is that we're making this software intelligent, and we only have to program many of these once in the room. So you never have to worry about doing all this. But now the system, now that these are segmented, is smart enough to run these when it needs to. I'll explain that a little bit more in a bit. Let's talk about deselection events. So the selection events are what happens in this case when someone selects Watch Roku. These selection events are shared. It may be, some of these might be run when you turn off the system. In fact, all of them will run when you turn off the room. Some of them will run when you switch to another source. I'll explain. Room off start. It tells you what it needs to do. This room's run at the beginning of the room off command. There's one included in the template. And it says, use this to send the controller to a please wait page. Wait a minute, I remember programming 1.1 for the activity. So let's copy this and paste it on here so that when we're turning off the system, it takes us to that familiar I'm working, please wait page. Here's a cool one, activity deselected. This is run after another source is selected or the system is turned off. Again, it says you'll rarely need to do anything for this step, but what I like to use this for is for cable command or movie commands. If I'm watching a Kaleidoscope or a Blu-ray player, you could use this command to pause it while you quickly jump to your cable box to get a sports score. However, I can't think of a case here, so I'm going to skip it. Power off source is the opposite of power on. So I'm just going to copy the power on into the power off, and I'm going to change the argument to power off the Roku. Video off, well, that's the opposite of video on. And it even tells you, use this to switch off any video equipment. So I'm going to go to my video on, copy the macro, paste it in here, and then select the off command. Room off is going to be the opposite of the room on command. Remember, those are for shared devices that need to be turned on, whether audio and video is selected. So I'll turn that off. Room off complete will automatically be done, and that sets the controller back to its resting state, so it's ready for next time and not showing a power off menu. Now, the game port is the next video activity. These are all going to be done for you. Room on is done. Video on is done. We don't need a power on source. An input change, well, we could quickly program that by taking the Roku input, copying the entire macro this time, and now pasting it into the activity selected. And then just changing this to game or whatever let's do media player in this case. And then everything else is done for us. Same thing with camera. Since that's not a video activity, we could leave that. RTI music, since this is an audio activity, audio on would turn on anything that needs to be turned on for specialized audio, but we already have room on running the receiver. So we really don't have to do anything here as well. The activity ready is done for us, and we don't have to turn on and off RTI music. Now, let's get to the interfaces. I'm going to click on the IST10 and go through some of the interfaces that were created when we added this. Here's our home page. Let's shrink this up so we could see this. Here's our home page, and here's some of the layers that are built for us. There's that list menu that will automatically be programmed with that list we created in the activities. And when we press a room or an activity, it'll know exactly what to do. Here's our please wait. Here's our weather, already done for us. Here's a blank source we're going to use for the camera. So let's quickly edit this. I'm going to call this, edit the text, and call it camera. And I'm going to go bring in an object using an RTSP video feed. And I'm going to put in the RTSP of the camera. You'll easily get that URL in the documentation, or you could use an app like VLC to do that. Once you have it, drag it in and resize it to whatever size you want. Then I could center it on the screen, and there's my camera. Here's my video game in use. It says to use the controller. I could easily change this text to say, let's make it say, plug controller into game port, and click OK. Here's our Roku, and here's our RTI music. You might see a lot of overlapping layers. That's why the software has a layer feature, which is incredible, and one of the best reasons you'll like the software. A lot of these layers that you're looking at are conditional, meaning they're only going to pop up when they need to be seen. For example, if you're selecting something that requires a keyboard, your keyboard will pop up automatically. These are all programmed for you. You don't have to do a thing. But if we added a Sonos player or another music player, that would be done for you as well. Let's take a look at some of the functionality you could do with the graphics. So in ID11, you could resize any graphic to any size you want. I don't care how big or small you want that button. I could also go in here and I could color this button with another color. I could go into the icon overlay and give this the familiar red Netflix. Let's give this the familiar blue color that Prime uses. Nah, I don't like that shade, so I'll head into more colors and use the color palette to make it a little darker. And I could do the green, familiar green with the Hulu, so I can make that green. Maybe I don't like those buttons. Now, we don't expect anyone to be a Photoshop expert when using ID11. So for that reason, we give you a bitmap directory with a bunch of different assets here. And all these templates are different ways to spice up your interface. For example, let's go into the Coral, which is the name of the template we're using, elements, and let's look for buttons. Maybe I want to use a better button for those. Maybe I want to use a darker button. Just replace them. Boom, that's all you got to do. Just hover over this. But you know what? I don't like the way the Prime Video is taking up a lot of that button. So I go to the properties, go to the image, and I can adjust the padding on the button. Let's make it something like 25. And as I'm typing in the padding on the normal and active state, active being what the customer sees as he's pressing the button, you'll see it preview of what it looks like. And so now it looks a little bit smaller. This is great when you have really large icons and you want to make room for text. For example, let's say on this home button here, let's make it bigger. Okay. Now, I want to put some text on that button to tell the customer what it will do, but there's no room on the bottom. So let's go to the properties and only add padding to the bottom. Let's add a 60. Let's preview that. 65 on the normal and active probably would do it. Click OK. And now I can edit text and I could center it and I could type in home menu. And now I could put that on the bottom of my button. But that's too small. No problem. Let's make it a little bit bigger and make it bold. And now it looks better. If I don't like the color, I could color it in with anything in the color palette. Again, pretty custom. Okay. You could also go to the backgrounds. This is a really cool feature. The backgrounds will give you a ton of different backgrounds. And the great part about this, if I right click on the back of the page and click on page properties, I'm using a default background and you can see what that is here. But I could use a custom background and I could specify any color I want in the entire color palette. Maybe I want like a wine color. Maybe that would fit. And if you like it, that will change that just this device right here. But if I like this for everything, I can make that a default button, delete the default one, and then change this to a wine color. And now that will make the rest of my interfaces adopt that wine color. But I want to use one of these cool backgrounds. All you got to do is drag them in and preview them. They will actually bring in the background and treat it like a background. We have commercial ones, we have residential ones, and we have ones that are completely neutral for you to use when you want to give your client a different look. I kind of like that one. And now you change the whole one. Let's talk a little about layers. I was talking a little bit about that before. In this case, oh, by the way, I should just say I created a background by downloading it from the internet and placing it in a directory. If you want to give your client a welcome screen, we'll show you how to do that in a little bit. But right now, I want to show you a layer feature. So let's pretend the client wants a logo on the top, or in this case, a family crest. First, let's find an area by perusing through the screens to see an area where it'd be acceptable without interfering. Probably around here would be a good place. So I'm going to go and create another layer, a new blank layer. And I'm going to call this logo. And I'm going to make this shared and click OK. So now it puts that logo on the top. If it's all the way on the top, no other layers can overlap it. And now I'll bring in my logo. Well, but that's too big. But thanks to the software, we can resize it. And now I'm going to put this somewhere about over here, maybe a drop smaller. And I'm going to make this inactive to the touch so that when the client presses it, nothing happens. It's just for show. And now I'm going to go to the very next page and I'm going to click Insert a Shared Layer. Pick the shared logo and insert it everywhere. And now, as I go through the pages, that logo has been added everywhere in my interface. And if I decide to move it over, it will do it everywhere and not just on that page. And if you don't like it on a certain page, maybe I don't want it on my Please Wait page, you could just delete it here and not have it on our Please Wait, but it will remain everywhere else. All right.
Vincent, do you have, I see a question came in here.
Sure.
Can you do custom backgrounds? Is that what you're?
Sure.
No?
So I created a custom background and I was going to save this for a welcome page, but I'll steal it and put it in now. Now it's hard to see, but I'm going to show you how you can get around that. So I'm going to create a welcome page for the client. I'm going to go back to my Add Workspace, which is just a glorified wizard of adding the building blocks to your project. Select a page set. And I'm going to add a blank page set. And I'm going to call this welcome page. And I'm the idea is when the system powers off, it's going to go to this welcome page instead. And I'm not going to give this any pages that are using the Coral template. I'm going to create my own. I'm going to click add device. Now I have this page, and I'll click on it here, where welcome source, which doesn't have any pages. So I'm going to add a blank page. There's also the ability to merge pages. So I could merge a page into any controller from either another project or this existing project. I could use the page wizard and scroll through all the different, all the different templates we have and preview them. Or I could export this as a source bundle. I'll explain what that is later, but basically it's a way for you to preserve all your graphics and programming so the next time you're adding that device, you'll add it as a bundle that you've previously exported. So now this is going to be my welcome page. So I'm just going to add a blank page to my IST10. And I'm going to call this welcome. Okay. And now I'm going to bring in my background. Now, this is just the background, but I want to create a big button on this that tells the client what to do. So I'm going to go to my other bag of tricks, my one-way buttons. And these are all different types of buttons that aren't really meant to be pressed. They're just meant to be one way. And I'm going to go find something that has some transparency so that this looks darker. Nah, I don't like that one. It's too grayish. So I'm going to look more to the bottom. Yeah, these look a little nicer, but these look good. I want something a little darker. Not quite the darkest. That will do nicely. So I still get to see the home, and I'll resize this to be the same size. I'll put a little text box here that tells the client what to do, and we'll call it press to begin. Of course, I'm going to make this much bigger. And I'm going to change the font to be something a little bit different. I kind of like this font. And I'll leave it the way it is. Press to begin. And I don't like that color, so I'll change the font to white. And now I'm going to put this in the middle of the interface, but I don't want to have this black border around my text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this button transparent for the fill color instead of black. Last, I'm going to make this button inactive. I don't want them to press the button. I want them to press anywhere on the screen. So now that black area that we added as an overlay, just to kind of darken the background, now becomes a button for us. So let's go and put a page jump on this, and we'll just select, we'll call it home, which will program a page jump for us. There's a better way to do this, but we'll program a page jump to go to the home page. And now that will jump to the home page when the client presses this button. In fact, probably want to make this a little bit bigger.
I just want to give you a heads up. We got about 10 minutes if we want to get into the product.
Perfect. So that's perfect. So we talked a little bit about the layers. There's other ways to make use of layers. There might be situations when you want to create a layer that you could pop up on the screen. For example, let's pretend this logo we created is an actual function. So I could make this pop up a layer. Instead of being inactive, I could make this a function that will pop up a volume. Okay. And now I could create a layer called volume commands or zone volume. And now I could say, pop this up when my macro flag is set. Okay. And now I could use this button to just set a flag or toggle a flag. A flag is something you could use to toggle something on and off so that when it's set, it will show the layer. But when it's cleared, it will hide the layer. So I'm going to make that button toggle it from set to clear this set. And now this zone volume, which will create something on, let's create a black border here. Make it inactive. And I could go program some sliders on here. And it's just a matter of picking your favorite color. We have all different types of sliders you could use to program. So now, the only thing we need to do is, so now what'll happen is when the client presses this button, it will toggle the flag from cleared to set, which will display this. And then when he presses it again, it'll clear the flag, which will make that go away. So it's so easy to do things. Let's finish off by aiming this layer here at a source that we already have. Since this layer is doing nothing, I wanted to show the RTI music. So I'll go into its properties, and where it says source, I'll aim it at the RTI music source in the theater room. And now it will populate all the commands, including the cover art, the progress bar, and all the transport commands. Now, the software, that's probably 1/50th of what the software can do, but you could see how fast it is to program. You could see how easy it is to customize. Just about every area of the screen is resizable and can be manipulated and changed. And again, we give you a ton of graphics that are included with the software to make sure that you can do that. We give you tons of
great deep dive. Really appreciate it. I mean, this is good for any application too. I know we're going to get into commercial products as well, but this is a great tool. The programming software, great deep dive, and it's going to be probably one of our most watched recorded videos, I think, because we could probably go through here and getting actual trained. If we want a dealer to get trained up and certified, the process is what? There's multiple ways. You go over that real quick?
Sure, absolutely. So we have a ton of different training opportunity. You can see here on my screen, there's a sports bar that I program.
Yeah,
These tend to be a lot easier than residential. Yeah. Not that residential is difficult, but sports bars you could do on one page and control many TVs as you want, video walls, which we're showing here, and tons of other things. So to get back to your question, to get trained, you become an RTI dealer. And we have a really cool, I'll just go to our website here, if you don't mind. We have a great RTI Excel learning management system, which will allow you to take webinars and courses. I'll show you how to get there. You'll go to the learning portal. It'll log you in. And now you could select My Courses, and it will show you all the courses we have, not just on the software. We also have sources on AV fundamentals, on sidewalk best practices, product training, and so many others. We also have a 3-day headquarter training as well, should you choose to come in Shakopee, Minnesota. So, and we also have
on our site too, we have a link on our site that could really walk you through this process to get the online training or the in-person training that you need. So it's very easy to do. We'll help you. We'll guide you through that process as well. All right. So we have like less than 5 minutes. Can we go through just the product real quick? Is Randy going to do that?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can get through in 5 minutes, but let me see what I can do.
Yeah, we have. If we could, maybe we can make it 8 minutes.
Are you seeing my screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, welcome back. Yeah, and thank you, Vincent, for giving us a pretty deep dive into the software. You know, software is really who we are, and the hardware follows. But we have a lot of brand new hardware that we've released this year and are releasing this year. And 21st is one of our key partners. that has this new hardware to follow the software that you were just seeing. So let me just run through quickly what's new for 2024. Let's start off with the, back in June, we shipped our new DSP matrix amp line. If you have not made this your audio distribution platform of choice, you're missing out. When we planned this new line, we spoke directly with integrators to understand what was needed, and the answer was very clear to us: more power, performance, control, and integration. The result is the all-new AD series. Not an incremental update, but a major rethinking of the line. The AD4610 is a 4-source 6-zone amplifier, and the AD810 is 8-source 10-zone, and we also have the 1616, which is 16 sources, 16 zones. Let's look at the in and outs of the 4610 and the 810-100. It has analog inputs, either 4 or 8, depending on chassis. Digital inputs, same, 2 or 4, depending on chassis, plus 2 digital loop outs on each. An amplified zone at 100 watts per channel at 4 ohms, either 4 or 8, depending on the chassis, plus 2 line level pre-outs, ideal for subwoofers and 70-volt amplifiers that you may want to use in the garden. The AD1616 is 8 stereo RCA analog inputs and loop outs on all 8 independent stereo digital inputs, both optical and coax, with loop outs on inputs 9 and 10. And for outputs, AD1616 has 16 analog zones, ideal for pairing the CP16 cool amp that we sell. The web GUI is where you quickly configure the DSP matrix. Sources, zones, groupings, EQ, and configuration is all managed here. Most include both basic and advanced settings. Let's look at the zones. Here's a basic setting that will quickly get you zoned up. Let's say we want to add a doorbell or a secondary source to that zone. You'll open up the advanced setting to get that done. It also comes with a 5-band parametric EQ that lets you fine-tune the sound for every channel. And the web GUI is a powerful tool. It enables standalone systems, but of course, we recommend that you pair with RTI so you can control the whole project. Let's recap. More power, performance, control, integration. The AD series from RTI. If you haven't tried one of these new amps, you owe it to your clients to try one now. In July, we introduced the new Intelligent Surface touch panels with the highest resolution, thinnest bezel, lowest profile to the wall. The result is an elegant aesthetics, elevated performance, and exceptional value. Both the ISD-10 and the ISD-5 are available in white and black bezel, and the ISD-10 has an optional table stand. Let's review some of the ISD-10 key features. The ISD-10 leads with high-resolution 10-inch display with true black display filter integrated with a capacitive touch screen. Peace of mind is this camera features a privacy shutter. And it has a microphone array with a mute button. With full duplex intercom and SIP enabled, this touch panel is perfect for the front door experience. The proximity sensor wakes up upon approach, and the ambient light sensor will auto set the screen brightness to match the room. The 10-inch touch panel mounts portrait or landscape, communicates either on 2.4 or 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, and of course is PoE ready. The ISD-10's on the wall profile is a little bigger than the RTI KA white, while the screen has got a better resolution than the KA11. The super thin bezel is what makes it possible. The ISD-10 can mount in a single gang box. The mounting bracket is included. The bracket will also let you mount to a dual gang box. Here's a look at the hardware at the top. Far field mic array for exceptional sound. Mute button with indicator light. Light sensor and proximity sensor. The camera is a 2 megapixel color CMOS with privacy shutter and physical barrier to cover the camera lens. And again, we offer an optional stand that is perfect for the countertop, desktop, and/or conference room. Now let's look at the IST5. Think of the IST5 as similar to the IST10 without the camera. Where this unit shines is the compact form factor. This interior design-friendly feature has already been a big hit. The IST delivers the same single box ease of mounting and low profile as the IST10. Now let's review. Here's where we win with the new Intelligent Services touch panel. Best-in-class resolution, tabletop mount, thin bezel, low profile on the wall, microphone array, and camera privacy. With the touch panel, we added a wide assortment of new backgrounds to the Coral template, and Vincent touched on that in the Integration Designer, including photo images like this one. And of course, the backgrounds work with other RTI controllers as well. Now let's look at the new Intelligent Services remote scheduled to release in December 2nd. With these new remotes, we set our sights on a particular result. After all, the remote is the hands-on piece of equipment that embodies the intelligent home or intelligent office experience. Meet the ISR4 and the ISR2, the new Intelligent Services. It's time to fall in love again with the best-in-class remotes. Let's start with the ISR4. This is truly an exceptional remote with many advantages. Edge-to-edge glass covering a high-resolution 4-inch capacity touchscreen, easy swipe control, sleek aluminum case, and just below the screen are 2 programmable capacitive touch buttons. Backlit soft touch buttons and an intuitive 5-way thumb pad and transport controls deliver real-time haptic feedback. The ISR4's Instant Connect Wi-Fi technology means your remote wakes up immediately and is always ready to perform. The standard charging base is included, and the ISR4 gets around 5 days of battery life between charges with typical use. The result is a great control experience in every way. The finished touches result in exceptional ergonomics. If you ever held one of these at a recent trade show, you'll know what I mean. If you haven't held one yet, be prepared to be impressed. Of course, many users and use cases demand full numeric keypad. Meet the ISR2. Like the ISR4, the ISR2 features edge-to-edge glass, same sleek aluminum case, same swipe control, programmable soft buttons shown on the ISR4. Below is the 5-pad touch thumb pad and transport controls. And below that is the full numeric keypad. All buttons deliver real haptic feedback. Instant Connect Wi-Fi technology wakes up the remote immediately. It comes with the same standard charging base, and it gets between 6 and 7 days of charge with typical use. Like the ISR4, the ergonomics of the ISR2 are second to none. We've talked about the elevated Wi-Fi performance, but with the optional ISR-AB advanced base, we take performance to a new level. Let's take a look. The optional advanced base acts like a Wi-Fi access point for the ISR4 or ISR2, ensuring a solid Wi-Fi connection. The cradle on which the remote sits enables easy placement for charge and is an easy lift to operate. Next is the adjustable light ring. It lights when charging and has programmable colors. Highlighted here are 3 programmable soft keys. Each turn the charging station into a controller, initiating commands for common room activities like scenes. Think of it as like a KP, a keypad, the ability to program anything. And finally, one of our most requested features ever, the Find My Remote button. This is associated, the associated remote will beep and identify its location. Let's recap. Best-in-class ergonomics, edge-to-edge glass, big 4-inch screen on the ISR4, soft touch buttons, instant connect Wi-Fi, and that optional advanced base exclusive no one else has. Also coming soon is our new PoE keypads. The story is simple here. Everything that is great with the RK1 Plus, now with power over Ethernet for installation convenience. Meet the KP2, 4, and 8. Of course, all include the Laser Shark custom engraving because a picture is worth 1,000 words. Now let's recap all these new solutions and the new DSP matrix amps, more power, more performance, more control, more integration. The new Intelligent Surfaces touch panel, highest resolution, thinnest bezel, lowest profile to the wall. Upcoming release of our new Intelligent Surfaces Wi-Fi remotes, exceptional performance and elevated ergonomics, plus the optional advanced base Wi-Fi access point and controller. We encourage you to experience all these new solutions, and we think you'll agree it is a great time to be with RTI, and it is a great time to be with 21st Century, one of our key partners.
Nailed it. All right.
Well,
Thank you for your time.
We got to go. It was a hard stop. We got to get to
I
the
got it.
last trip. But really appreciate it, guys. We got it
Thank
all
you.
in an hour. So really appreciate you guys presenting all that. We'll see you guys on the next call.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks so much, guys. Take care, everyone.
Thanks,